haven't already taken a webinar with me, my name again is Tanya Gilbert. I am the Client Account Executive with American Health Network in regards to the on-site clinic and wellness services that American Health Network provides to Enders and Hauser. I was a health coach for 10 years and have a background in wellness coordination, so I'm helping out this year with putting on a few presentations at the Greenwood location and these very fun and interactive webinars. So one thing I will note is if you're able to download the slides, I have attached that to the handout section of the chat box, so you are able to download the PDF if you want to take notes and print that out real quick. You're welcome to do that. I will also be sending the slides as an attachment to everyone that registered for the webinar. So you're going to get an email from me this afternoon that'll contain the PDF of the slides, and I'll also paste the link to get credit for the webinar to take the quiz in the email. So let's go ahead and get started with boosting nutrition, and happy Halloween to all those celebrating today. So here's just a real quick reminder. In order to receive the coaching credit for attending the webinar today, you will need to complete a SurveyMonkey quiz. It's just a few questions to make sure that you were logged in and paying attention. Like I said, the quiz link will be in the slides. It'll also be in the body of the email that I'll send out to everyone who's registered for the webinar this afternoon. You must provide an accurate date of birth and your first and last name in order for us to award you credit. And just a reminder, you're welcome to attend as many webinars as you'd like, but you can only earn coaching session credit for up to 2 per incentive year. So I hope to see you at all of them though, because they're super helpful and informative, and I think this one will not let you down. So let's start with talking about what real food is. So I'm going to compare what real food is to what processed food is. And you may have heard these terms a lot in your life, but maybe no one's actually sat down and explained to you what the difference is. So the easy way to remember what real food is considered in this regard is anything that basically comes from the earth. So can you pull it out of the ground or can you pick it off a tree? Essentially, that's what real food is. So that's going to be your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, and your seeds. There's also a category of whole, unrefined grains that would classify as real food. This would be rice, quinoa, sprouted grains. You may have heard of something called sprouted grain bread or Ezekiel bread. Those are going to be your less processed breads. Definitely would encourage you to try those out if you haven't already. If you're a bread person, don't want to give that up yet. But white bread and even the wheat bread that you buy at the store is a processed food, and I'll talk about what the dangers of those are as we move through the material today. So the other thing we're going to talk about that I think is extremely important to note is what exactly is a GMO. I know you've probably heard this term and maybe not really fully understood what that means, or the term GE, or genetically engineered or genetically modified organism. So I'm going to go through what that means and how to avoid those and what the dangers are. A reminder of what real food is, it's not going to be in the aisles of the grocery store. Typically, it's on the outer rim of the grocery store in your produce section, etc. It's not advertised, and it doesn't make a lot of money, a lot of profit for consuming retailers. So that's another reason why there's a huge marketing industry behind the food industry, and that's kind of what sucked us in as Americans and what's leading to our obesity crisis in this country. So I think it's important to talk about that today too. So what is processed food in contrast to real food? Processed food is considered refined. It means that the fiber, the water, and the nutrients are sucked out of the food. It's going to contain artificial chemicals and ingredients such as high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, and artificial sweeteners are just 3 that I have time to talk about today. An example between what a real food is and what a processed food is would be an apple. An apple is a real food. Why? Because you can pull it off the tree, right? But applesauce may sound healthy, but that is definitely a refined food. To make applesauce, most of the fiber is broken down. And fiber is an important aspect of digestion, and it's also important for stabilizing blood sugar, not just for diabetics, but for people that are trying to maybe watch their weight. They also, when they're making applesauce, the levels of vitamin C and other nutrients that make the apple so healthy are decreased. So essentially, applesauce is a processed food. So beware of terms you're going to hear when you're next trip to the supermarket. You're gonna see more clearly that foods that maybe use a real, or products that use a real food term are really not as healthy as you might think. Another thing is, like we talked about with the bread a moment ago, grains have to be refined for human beings to consume them. So when that happens, they remove the most nutritious part of the grain. They also bleach the flour to make it white, and they have very few nutrients. And then what they do is they put synthetic nutrients back into the bread, but that's not nearly as health benefits as consuming real food. So try that Ezekiel bread. See how you like it. So essentially what I want you to get out of the material today is to really understand that real food is healing the body. There are thousands of different minerals and nutrients in all the different real foods that exist. I don't have time to go through all of them, but I found a few bits of information that I thought would be interesting for you to hear. So remember, real food heals the body. Processed food causes disease and illness. If you don't take anything else away from the material today, take those first 2 lines on this slide. Keep it simple. This is going to help you change your perception and your mindset behind the food you consume and actually put into your body, because that's going to take years of conditioning. Living in America, we have to kind of take a step back from what we've already learned. And that's what I hope to help you with today. So here's a very cool clinical study that I wanted to share with you. They did a trial on people with precancerous lesions in their esophagus. And what they did was they instructed them to consume what were equivalent to a pound of fresh strawberries per day. So they freeze-dried it because they were trying to help with easy, compliance in the study, easier consumption, and sitting down with a pound of strawberries every day. So they used the freeze-dried form of it. So what they found was within 6 months, 80% of the patients saw a reversal in the progression of their disease. Precancerous lesions were either reduced to moderate, or from moderate to mild. They disappeared completely. And 50% of the people in the treatment group walked away disease-free. So this is pretty amazing. Also, esophageal cancer is one of the most deadly cancers that we have. So it's just even more amazing in that regard. So that's just one example of the power that real food can have in your body. And they say every day our body produces some cells that could be potentially cancerous. So what you consume on a daily basis, what your habits are, is really going to help you long-term with what you with how your body is going to be in terms of resiliency. The other thing I'm going to encourage you today is really consider going organic. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, and I've included as many as I have time to discuss today. So when a food is labeled organic, it has not been treated with pesticides or herbicides, fertilizers from synthetic ingredients or sewage, ionizing radiation, growth hormones, or antibiotics. So that is your safest bet. There's a lot of other terms that I'll show a slide on, like natural or non-GMO, that might mean something better than the latter of not having that, but it's not what it means when it says organic. So one reason behind why that's so important is, even when you're not dealing with plants, is if you're consuming meat and dairy, for example, most conventionally raised livestock are fed genetically modified food. So if you're eating a cow that's fed GMO food, you're consuming GMOs, essentially. What they're also doing to help dairy cows produce milk, produce it quickly, they give them something called genetically engineered bovine growth hormone, or the abbreviation for this is RBGH. It helps increase the milk production, so the cows are obviously producing more. So behind this is really trying to save money, trying to make more of a profit, is really what this is all gearing towards here. But when they give these cows this hormone, it causes infections. So then they have to give the cows antibiotics to help ward off the infection. So not only now are you consuming this growth hormone, but you're now consuming the antibiotics that the cow was fed. So when you're buying dairy products, if you still want to buy dairy products after you talk with me today, look for that RBGH3 symbol on the dairy. I know a lot of yogurts are now containing it on the label. Stony Fields is a yogurt brand that I personally have looked into because they have an organic version. They have hormone-free version. So look for that next time you're out at the grocery store and see if that's something that you might be wanting to switch to. Because what your cows are eating becomes what you're eating. Another thing to know is that organic fruits and vegetables have 40 to 90% more antioxidants than commercially produced foods. So that's another thing that they're finding is they're more nutritious. So if you're wondering, oh, I don't really want to pay the extra money for an organic food, first of all, whatever goes in your body, I would say don't worry about your grocery bill. You should be able to justify that. But also too, you're getting more nutrients for your money. So if you're not quite ready to go all organic, which is totally fine, what I do encourage is to at least follow this list. This is the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. You may have heard of this. They put one out every year. So this is 2017. So what I would encourage is when you get a copy of the slides today, print out this slide, cut it out, and keep it in your wallet. What this means is there are specific foods that are really, really heavily drenched in pesticides. Basically because the bugs like them is what the research I've done suggests. So bugs evidently really like strawberries, but anything that has a porous skin, I would say go organic, and stuff that has maybe a thicker skin or you don't eat the skin, you may be able to get away with it being on the Clean 15. Does that make sense? So strawberries, for example, very porous skin. Bugs really like spinach, evidently. So that's something I would really encourage. In fact, any dark leafy green, I would definitely go organic. And then something like an avocado, I mean, unless you're really into eating avocado skin, which I don't, I've never tried it. Can't say I recommend doing that. But if that's something you don't eat, then maybe you go ahead. Same with a pineapple. I mean, if you buy a whole pineapple and you don't eat the skin, then you may be able to get away with that being a non-organic item and save yourself some money if you are on a pinch budget. But I always suggest go all organic. But if you can't do that, your grocery store doesn't have it, that may be a better option for you. So that's just another option here. I have a question. Yes, it's actually, I answered it with the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen. So yeah, it doesn't look like I don't see banana on either list here. But again, I always wonder too, when it's not on the list, where does it fall? You can go to the Environmental Working Group's website and they have they go up to 100 on what to avoid and what to consume. And that link will be included on the reference page for you. But I would assume banana might probably be okay, because unless you eat the banana peel, it should be okay. So what are the dangers of consuming these pesticides? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are more than 600 active chemicals that are registered for agricultural use in the United States. So that's really intimidating when I found that. So when you're eating a non-organic apple, there's also probably 30 different pesticides on the apple. And the motivation behind this isn't there to change, because why? We can't see or taste these pesticides, right? So if I'm shopping and the organic apples are for 20% more money, why would I care if I can't taste it? Well, here's why you should care, because there's an invisible issue going on with the food that's going to make you sick. So definitely consider getting organic. Even if you wash the fruit, the pesticides, especially on those porous foods, the fruits especially, they're going to sink in the leafy greens, they're going to sink in, and you're not going to be able to wash it out. Another thing too, and the reason why you don't keel over when you consume foods with 30 different pesticides on them is because you can consume a little bit of arsenic and it's not going to kill you. I mean, have you ever seen forensic files? There's a certain level of toxicity that every kind of substance has in the body. Some things are more toxic than others. But the scary thing is that pesticides are going to build up in your liver and your fatty tissue over time. And some of the things that they've linked pesticides to are listed here at the bottom of this slide. ADHD, Alzheimer's disease, fatigue. I'm not going to read all of them, but it's supposed to cause cognitive issues, brain disorders, cancer, and reproductive damage. So I would just be aware that some of these things could potentially be going on, and that's what's something to be aware of. And the little meme here at the bottom, the little picture with the bunny, it says, "Do you also eat these with a mask on?" So that's kind of scary that they need that to spray the fruits and vegetables. I have another picture here coming up that shows you that again. Right. So yes. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what genetically modified organisms are, or the other term is GE, or genetically engineered. So, sorry about that. Oops. Okay, so this means that a new organism has been created by scientists. It's basically something that they've made in a lab. So what does that mean for you? So they've done this, I mean, it's a way to mass produce more products. So what they've done is they created seeds that are pesticide and herbicide tolerant, meaning that they can spray these plants with weed killer and it doesn't kill them. So it helps them get away from the pest destruction. So the other thing that they've done is created a new herbicide that's made with glyphosate, which is very dangerous, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But those are the two things that are going on with genetically modified organisms. And not only are the seeds genetically engineered, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture, or left-hand corner, I'm sorry, you've got the seeds compared to normal seeds. I mean, they're genetically modified, they're engineered in a lab. Okay, so that alone should make you a little bit possibly alarmed. And then you've got the guys on the right here spraying herbicide, and they have to wear these suits basically to be able to go out in the field and do this. That's a little scary too. And you want to eat this stuff? I mean, it almost seems crazy. All right. Anybody have any questions so far about GMOs, organic, or the company that produces this herbicide is called Monsanto. You may have heard of Monsanto or heard it being discussed in the news. Now you'll know what they're talking about. It's a biotechnology corporation. It's the biggest in America. Here's a little bit more of GMO versus organic foods, and I have a couple of pictures here. So they're able to produce these new fruits and vegetables that are herbicide intolerant, pesticide intolerant, and they are larger, bigger. I mean, they look good, but you're dealing with something, again, made with chemicals in a lab. So you just have to be aware that of what you're dealing with here. This is not a real food. This is a chemical food. Another thing to look at is this picture I have of the strawberries with the ingredients. So when you're eating an organic strawberry, you're eating a strawberry, okay? When you're eating a conventional strawberry that's not organic, you've got a list of things here that, though you may not be able to see or taste them, you are putting them in your body. And it kind of defeats the purpose of eating healthy, of eating strawberries. Why would you eat healthy if you're going to consume all these chemicals? And the frustrating thing is, they put organic next to the conventional, and they're typically more expensive. Not always. I've seen organic be cheaper, actually. But you just got to remind yourself, this is the reality. This is the truth. And you don't want this stuff going in your body. There's nothing more important every day than what we consume, because that's becoming, our life, our energy, our mood, everything is controlled by what we consume. So this is really important stuff to consider. Here's just a depiction here of what is going on when they make these GMO seeds. So I thought this might be interesting to see. So basically, they're altering the DNA molecule, and they're using organisms such as bacteria and viruses and inserting it into plant DNA, such as corn and soy. So that's kind of scary too. You can see how they're modified and what's actually going on. So now when someone is talking about GMOs, you know what that means. All right, there we go. So additionally, here are a few dangers of GMOs and genetically modified, genetically engineered seeds. It lowers the nutritional content by inhibiting absorption of nutrients. Same with conventional food. It's lower in nutrition, as we talked about, than organic. A review of 19 animal studies showed that consuming GMO corn or soybeans leads to significant organ disruptions in rats and mice. So again, they can't duplicate the studies to humans because of ethics, but those are mammals. Like, I would be a little concerned if I fed something to a mouse and it got sick. I probably wouldn't want to put it in my body. There's just simple logic. I don't have to be a scientist to make that justification. And glyphosate, the active ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup, has been found to cause birth defects in frogs and chickens. Again, they can't duplicate the study of the humans intentionally because it's not ethical, but I just wouldn't go there if that's what's going on with the frogs. It's also been found to cause DNA damage, neurotoxicity, reproductive toxicity, and cancer in the studies that they have found where people have, there's a correlation between consumption of GMOs and human beings. So go organic. That's my spiel for today, but definitely worth it. So what foods are genetically modified? Here's just a rundown of the basics. The majority is going to be corn, soybeans, cotton, canola oil, and sugar beets that are grown in the U.S. are typically GMOs. 50% of papaya grown in Hawaii is also GMO. There's a lot of articles out there about papaya from Hawaii. As many as 15% of the cows in the U.S. are injected with that growth hormone. Again, look for that on the dairy products. And if you haven't already tried cashew milk or almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, I tell you, I think it's better than cow's milk, and it doesn't have sugar in it like cow's milk does. So try it. Try the unsweetened. Even the sweetened is probably better for you than the cow's milk. So give yourself a stroll through that aisle and check out some alternative nut milks that you can try. It's banned. This growth hormone is actually banned in some of the countries due to negative health impacts it has on the cows and the dairy industry. And then there's a list here at the bottom of the top 10 genetically modified foods in the U.S. Stuff that you should probably be avoiding. All right. Moving on. So this was an interesting list I found of companies that are GMO supporting. It's something I was blown away by the list. And again, there are certain stores, like in Indiana, I know some of the people on the call are from Kaiser in Michigan, but in Indiana, we have stores like Earth Fare that won't carry specific brands, like Morning Star, I think it is, that makes veggie burgers. So I used to really like these black bean veggie burgers from Morning Star, and they didn't carry them, and the lady explained to me why. They're GMO. They're a GMO-based company. So I don't know if they're on this list or not. Yeah, they are, actually. I didn't look for that before, but I was just thinking from memory about that incident I had at Earth Fare. So right there, it says Morning Star. Wow. So again, you probably have this stuff in your kitchen. I mean, that's just a little scary. So you may want to reconsider things. Next trip to the store, maybe look for some organic products or check out an organic supporting store or non-GMO supporting store like Earth Fare, where they don't support the brands that are like on board with this chemical production of food. So how do you know if something's organic? That's why I wanted to leave you with this today on this topic. Organic means something very different from just non-GMO or natural. Natural is a word that's completely tainted in the food industry. If something's natural or even natural flavors, I wouldn't trust that as being healthy. So these are two little boxes here on this page. On the left, you can see that USDA label organic means all of these different things, prohibits the use of synthetic and chemical fertilizer, antibiotics, it's regulated by the government, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas just the non-GMO seal, that's better than your just regular conventional, but it doesn't mean organic, okay? Same with the word natural. If you look at the list on the right, they're allowed to have pesticides, they're allowed to have GMOs and antibiotics. So you just got to look, the animal welfare is another condition that I didn't include in this presentation, but something to think about. If you haven't seen Food Incorporated, Food Inc. on Netflix is really eye-opening. It'll change your eating habits for sure. Or another one that just came out is called What the Health. Really good documentaries that'll help you grasp the importance of this. The other thing too is you got to look for that USDA organic seal, and then the non-GMO seal again they're good to have them together. Really is what you want. And then there's certain codes when you're buying produce that will indicate if a product is GMO, organic, or a conventional food. You probably see more of the 4-digit and the 5-digit with the 9, but I would encourage to get more of the 9 5-digit code organic foods when you're shopping. All right. So another thing with GMOs is oils. There's a big, we were talking about this in one of our group discussions at Endress last time I was there, what oils to get. And there are, this is for general health, and many oils are also GMOs, so I wanted to give you this. So aim for organic oils whenever possible. And if you're wanting to look for heart health and overall well-being, try to stick with the list on the left here. You probably heard a lot about coconut oil in the news lately. That does contain saturated fat, so in moderation. And the olive oil, flaxseed oil, grapeseed oil, awesome products to consider. All right. So now I want to talk about artificial sweeteners. So you've probably seen these packets here on the screen. We've got our pink and our blue and our yellow, right? So the yellow is newer, and people think because it's newer, it's better for you. Not at all. Splenda or sucrose, on the label, it might be listed as the chemical name. So you got to check the label on your food, guys, for sure. It contains chlorine, which is carcinogenic, meaning it's cancer-causing. Splenda has also been found to reduce the good bacteria in your digestive system, which we'll talk about the importance of that here in a little bit. It's considered nephrotoxic and hepatotoxic, meaning it causes lesions on your kidneys and your liver. So definitely want to get rid of using Splenda. E. coli or aspartame is, I would say, even worse. It's just been studied longer, really. It's investigated to be a cause of potential brain tumors, birth defects, epilepsy, a number of things. I'll show you a slide on aspartame. It's also called equal, or any kind of blue packet. There's all kinds of generic names for it now. Sweet and lower saccharin is pretty toxic as well. Studies on mice show that it causes bladder cancer, vascular, and lung cancer. But again, these can't be duplicated to humans, so the FDA does approve it. Neotomy is another one that's really popular now in protein bars, in chewing gum. If you want to be aware that it's very similar to aspartame, but they're actually finding it to be even more toxic. But these are created because they can say reduced calorie, they say diet, because they don't have as many calories as sugar, but there's definitely a trade-off. So here's more on aspartame, or the blue packet. It's considered in the book Prescription of Nutritional Healing to be an excitotoxin, meaning that it causes damage to the appetite center in the brain. There is a huge correlation between obesity and aspartame that they're finding. So it's also classified as a chemical poison. They're finding in just the last year, 75% of adverse reactions reported to the FDA are linked to diet foods or aspartame-containing foods. It's actually been known to cause seizures, including death. And the other scary thing is now companies know it's getting a bad rap, so they're putting no aspartame on their labels, but then they're using Splenda and Sweet and Low, or this other one that just came out. So you really got to check your label, especially when it says no aspartame or maybe something else in it that's toxic to trade off for that. The other thing I found very interesting when doing research on this chemical is that ants and houseflies will not eat it. So that's really scary. If your bugs won't eat it, you probably shouldn't either. It's a pretty good, easy way to remember what's healthy. If your fly won't eat it, then yeah, I wouldn't put it in your body. Here is a list of potential side effects of aspartame, and I've seen this. Like I said, I was a health coach for almost a decade, so I saw some pretty crazy things when people gave up Diet Coke. Like people get off medications, mood medications, blood pressure medications, and these things are real. It's a chemical, and if you're consuming a lot of diet drinks or diet foods, this is even more. So here is the study I was talking about with obesity. They did a study at the University of Texas. And they found those who drank diet sodas were more likely to become overweight than those who drank regular sodas with the calories. For each can of diet soda consumed each day, the risk of obesity increased by 41%. And if after 10 years, the people who drank 2 or more diet sodas increased the risk of obesity by 500%. And this link here can take you to the full study, but it's pretty incredible. Wow. So just because you're cutting those calories out, they've known that it interrupts the appetite center of the brain. It kills brain cells. It causes all these side effects. I don't know about you, but if I was feeling all these side effects that I'm seeing on this page here, I'm probably going to be, medicating with something other than you're probably going to go with a doctor for medications. You're probably not going to exercise. There's probably all kinds of correlations that are going into why these people are obese. But that study right there is just a good indicator of that they're not really diet. So are they? So where is aspartame and artificial sweeteners? That's even scarier, is that it's in everything. I mean, everything from your cold medicine to your gum to your mints to obviously another big industry now is the yogurt industry, using all kinds of artificial sweeteners. So definitely want to check your labels. And if they don't have a label, don't buy it. That's something that I had to realize about. I was looking for a gum without artificial sweeteners and some of the stuff didn't have a label. I was like, well, you know, they do make gum without artificial sweeteners. I know they sell it on Amazon. They sell it at health food stores. So you can find it. It's harder to find right now because America's not catching on quite as quickly as I'd like, but definitely check your labels. Kids vitamins too. I have that on the list here coming up. Is another one to be aware of. But check your cold pills because stuff, you know, especially if it's got a sweet taste to it, make sure it's not got something crazy in it. It's going to make you sicker in the long run. So here's just a list of some of the hidden sources. I was really surprised. I was using Colgate Optic White back in the day, and it contains Splenda. So you're like, well, I'm not eating it, Tanya, so it shouldn't hurt me. Actually, your mouth is one of the most absorbent places in the body. Food, nutrients absorb through your cheeks. That's why chewing tobacco is just as dangerous as smoking. It goes directly into your bloodstream when it's absorbed through the mouth lining. So yes, your toothpaste does go in your body. So alternative brands for that are brands like Tom's makes an all-natural toothpaste. In fact, my dentist actually carries that. So when I go there and they give you the little baggie with the toothbrush and the toothpaste, asking for an alternative, asking for a natural, just switch to next time you're there. Or obviously, even better, check your label. If it's got artificial sweeteners in it, try a brand yourself. Got your chewable vitamins, your gum, and then anything that's a sugar-free or diet or diabetic food, be very, weary of the ingredients. Check. The alternative that I suggest is if you're still wanting to watch your sugar intake, stevia is another sweetener that's come out. They're not 100% sure. It's not been studied long term, but it comes from a leaf, so you can think, okay, it comes from the earth. It's a little more natural. You just don't want to mass consume it. You don't want to start, eating 15, 30 packets of stevia a day, because that's not, anything can be toxic in mass quantities. Your body can develop an allergy to it even. So watch your, balance it out, obviously, is the main thing here. But stevia is definitely the one that I would go to. There are other ones, one's called xylitol, that actually they found traces of that in your bones, so it's actually naturally occurring in the body, etc. Another thing to be aware of, and this is alarming too, is that the fitness industry that produces all these protein powders and these workout shakes, they're loaded with artificial sweeteners. So you've really got to take a minute and check your if you do like a pre-workout or a post-workout or a shake in the morning, if it's got a sweetener, look for ones that are made with stevia. Any questions about artificial sweeteners so far? I've got the questions box open, but I don't see any questions coming through. So sorry if I'm missing any. All right. So now I'm going to talk about high fructose corn syrup and trans fats. So the two next things we'll talk about that are in foods that we need to start watching for. Excuse me. High fructose corn syrup is chemically modified table sugar. Probably genetically modified too, actually, but it's been extensively used in products since the 1970s, so keep that in mind for the next slide. So what they found is that it was created, and not only did it save manufacturers money because they didn't have to use as much of it because it's sweeter than sugar, but it also makes the product last on the shelf a lot longer, so the stuff doesn't have to be thrown away if it's not consumed. So again, it's designed as a marketing, to help these companies make money. The fact that it's twice as sweet as regular sugar causes a huge spike in blood sugar, and we're in, a diabetes epidemic right now. That should be something, a telling sign of this stuff when it does. It also has been shown to increase osteoporosis, tooth decay, anemia, and osteoarthritis. This is what's in your candy and your Coke, okay? So this is the chart I was referring to. So take a look at, this is the prevalence of obesity in the United States for adults 20 to 74. Take a look at the chart beginning in the 1970s. We've got, let me get my highlighter out here. Right here. Up, keeps going up, and here's where we are now. That's pretty amazing. So what happened in 1970? Oh, we came up with our high fructose corn syrup. So this stuff is one of the main contributors to our obesity epidemic, and it's in all the good stuff. That's what people usually tell me. Well, not necessarily. There are all kinds of ways to avoid this, but the mainstream Coke, candy, and products that are processed are going to contain this. Stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think, too. It's kind of crazy, but I'll show you some stuff here in a second. Let me erase my artwork and get back to business here. So products with high fructose corn syrup, it's in virtually everything, like I said, packaged or processed. Make sure to check your labels. And I have a label here on the bottom right that shows you high fructose corn syrup. It's listed just like that, or corn syrup. I would probably avoid both. And that's in your jelly right there. I mean, jelly sounds like kind of healthy, right? It's based on grapes, not necessarily. So it's really high in your Cool Whip. With Thanksgiving coming up, you can find Cool Whip that's high fructose corn syrup free. I believe it's more likely to be in the aerosol container, but they are making it in the tubs too now. So take a look and, take a couple extra seconds in the grocery aisle and look for that high fructose corn syrup free Cool Whip. The other thing is it's loaded in cereals and condiments too. Your ketchup is high fructose corn syrup. I went to Arby's and tried to get a sauce that was high fructose corn syrup free, and it was impossible. They all had it. So just something to be aware of. The other thing that's really common is in your salad dressing. So now you're eating a really healthy salad, organic vegetables, because Tanya said it was great to eat organic, and then you load it with high fructose corn syrup. So you stick to the oil and vinegar if you go to a restaurant, the olive oil and the balsamic vinegar or the red wine vinegar, and then check your dressings. There's certain, like Bold House Farms will make yogurt-based dressings. There's alternatives out there. You just have to look a little. So somebody had a question. Buying local honey as a sweetener is not better. It helps you build up your body to fight against certain illnesses. True or false? Yeah, I would look for organic honey, and in moderation, because honey is a sugar. It's going to cause your blood sugar to go up, but in moderation, I would definitely suggest using that as opposed to artificial substances. Great question. And honey has health benefits too. Offhand, I can't think of them, but I know I've read that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is trans fats. They're also called trans fatty acids or partially hydrogenated oils. So these are synthetically produced by adding hydrogen to liquid vegetable oil. And what they found is, in an effort to save money, they only partially hydrogenated the oil because it was a cheaper process. What that means, though, is it's even more harmful to your health than hydrogenated oil. So it's going back and they found a way to make money, even though it's harmful. It saves them, production money. They went ahead and kept doing it. So trans fats are also popular because they're inexpensive, and again, they prolong that shelf life. The trans fats and hydrogenated oils, they raise your bad cholesterol and lower your good cholesterol, and that is the precursor for heart disease. I mean, that's one of the big telltales of heart disease. When your bad cholesterol is high, typically you start to creep over 100, 130, and your good cholesterol, I would say you want to remember H for happy, HDL. You want more of that because it works like Drano and cleans your arteries. You want to keep that, over 40 or 50, but the higher the better, to help reduce your risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. All right, so where are the trans fats? Unfortunately, they're in, again, everything processed, from your cookies and crackers are especially high. I found that kind of weird. Donuts, French fries, fried foods, anything battered, pizza, ice cream. I know it's Halloween. So I'm really sorry to do this on Halloween. I was like, well, boosting nutrition is a cute title, and I'm going to ruin your candy night. So, there's alternatives, though. There are healthy ice creams out there. Halo Top ice cream is an excellent high-protein ice cream that's made with stevia-based and acceptable, more natural artificial sweeteners. So try some Halo Top on Halloween, get you through, and then but obviously everything's in moderation and balance. I always say too, it's what's on your grocery list that's really going to affect your health long term. I mean, what are you consuming on a habitual basis, on a regular basis? What's going in your body? I always say, compare your health of your body to like your 401k. It's not what goes in it today. It's a little bit of money, but in 20 years, that's what's going to matter. So what are your habits? Are you eating burgers every day for lunch at work? So get your habits healthy and then treat yourself. So that's another topic conversation. I have a presentation on habits. Maybe we'll do that next year. But always check your food labels. So the next thing I want to talk about is just a little bit on the benefits of nutrition. So one of the things to remember is that nutrition plays a very powerful role in your mood, your energy, and your behavior even, because the vitamins, especially B vitamins, are the building blocks that make neurotransmitters, which is going to be your dopamine, your serotonin, your acetylcholine. All these things are linked to your cognitive functioning and your mood. So how productive are you? Not only at work, but in your life? Are you motivated? Are you getting things done? Are you setting goals? Because that's actually very much tied to the neurotransmitters in your brain, which are tied to the food that you're consuming. So, and this isn't like you're going to eat an apple at lunch and then all of a sudden have motivation. This is what occurs exponentially over time, incrementally over time. What happens to your body when you consume healthy food? But out of balance neurotransmitters, if you're feeling sluggish and tired and you're in a bad mood, you're probably going to seek external stimulation from sources like sugar is very stimulating temporarily, and then you feel worse probably. Mind-altering drugs or alcohol. And this could be, a debate for addiction even. If people are really unhealthy, there is a correlation between the nutrition of the body. But then you go to your doctor, and because medical doctors in the United States aren't really trained in nutrition, they write you a prescription that treats the symptoms. But it doesn't affect the mechanism of disease. The source of the disease is in the diet. So you've got to look at that. You've got to look at what you're eating. And this may not be, I would say talk to your doctor before changing anything significant about your consumption and what you're taking. Don't stop your medications or anything like that, of course. But also take a moment and self-reflect here. So maybe there's a correlation between how you're feeling and what you're consuming every day. So here's a study to help support that. Higher consumption of vegetables may reduce the risk of depression by up to 62%. A study was reviewed in the Journal of Nutritional Neuroscience that found consuming vegetables like the green leafy vegetables, organic of course, is a non-invasive, natural, and inexpensive therapeutic means to support a healthy brain. So if you're wondering what I meant by green leafy vegetables, below is a list of some of the stuff that you can get to start eating, especially if you're one of the people that won the Nutri-Ninja that we had to give away earlier this month. You get through in your shake in the morning. And yeah, just a little handful today, but over time, that's going to add up to a lot of vitamins and minerals that are going to, instead of you storing the artificial sweeteners and trans fats in your muscle and your fatty tissue in your liver, you're going to have vitamins from kale and collard greens. So something to consider here. Put this with your Clean 15 list. Take to the store, get some new ideas. The other part of consuming processed food is not only is it unhealthy and empty calories, but it's screwing with your brain a little bit. I mean, you've got to look at this photo here. The appetite is regulated by hormones and neurotransmitters, not just in the digestive system and in your stomach, but in your brain. Your appetite works like a pendulum. So it's got to be regulated and balanced, like you see the clock and the pendulum go back and forth. That's exactly how the body works. The body is all rhythmic. Everything works on a rhythm. Processed food disrupts the rhythm. It changes the way the appetite center in the brain is regulated. It causes confusion and satiety and satiation, which are basically, that means when you get hungry and how fast it takes you to get full when you're eating. Real food helps regulate that center in the brain by supplying adequate vitamins, minerals, fiber, taste, etc. And a quote from one of the best books I've ever read, if you're wanting a good book on nutrition, it's called It Starts with Food. Real food is the most powerful appetite suppressant because it actually helps you regulate your appetite. Right. In this interesting picture here, I just included to show you how complicated your appetite really is. It's not just your stomach feeling full, you know. So just real quick, I wanted to go through what satiation and satiety are. Satiation is the feeling of satisfaction that occurs during the meal. So that means, okay, I'm good. I'm not hungry anymore. It's actually regulated in the hypothalamus in your brain. So it's also based on perception. So what they've done studies that show that if you put food on a smaller plate, you might find it to be more satisfying. It's an estimate, not an absolute measurement. So it's a visual cue. It's not just a physical cue. So I found that to be pretty interesting. So that's a cheap way to help your weight loss efforts, is to buy smaller plates, right? And satiety is what happens after a meal. It's how long before you feel hungry again. These are both affected by the food that you consume. So it's not just how much, it's also the type of food that's going to regulate your appetite. So you can't fake satiety. You have to actually feel full. That's why certain types of macronutrients, for example, might make you feel more full. Like if you eat a high protein meal, you might notice you're not hungry at dinner time like you normally are if you had a high protein or higher fat meal for lunch, because those might be more satiating to you. But real food is what regulates these in the brain. So you've got to make sure to incorporate that into your diet if you're wanting to, for example, lose weight. I mean, you could lose weight. It comes down to calories, but the type of food is what's going to help you make it easier and help regulate your appetite, because nobody wants to be hungry. That's why most people give up on a diet, is because they're too hungry. Right. Here's just, I like to back things up that I say with research. So they did a study at the Eastern Illinois University. It was interesting. They told people basically, put them in a room and said, have all the ice cream that you want. And what they found is that they had two groups. One were given a large bowl and a large spoon. The other group was given a small bowl and a small spoon. And the group that had a small bowl and a small spoon ate a lot less ice cream, even though it was all you can eat. So what they found is the amount of ice cream that was consumed is affected by visual cues and perception. So again, maybe start using smaller plates and bowls and spoons. I mean, can't hurt. Might help you in the long run. Especially during the holiday season, start with a smaller plate, because it's usually an all-you-can-eat type of situation with families and office parties and such. Another thing you can do to boost your health, a very important thing, is think about consuming probiotics or probiotic foods. Why is this? Because the gut is the main area of the body. Up to 90% of your neurotransmitters that are actually part of you feeling good mentally are made in your digestive tract. I know that sounds weird. The first time I read that, I'm like, that's not true. It is true. Your immune system is also located in your gut. There's a huge correlation between the health of your immune system and autoimmune conditions too. I don't have time to go into all that, but they're linked to mental health and autoimmune. Refined sugar that's in your candy, I know, don't hate, actually nourishes the bad bacteria and kills the good bacteria in your gut. So you've got to remember that it's not just, it's not just bad for your weight. It's hurting a lot of different things in your body. Probiotics, though, help produce the good bacteria. They also help your body produce more vitamins, absorb minerals, and eliminate toxins. So talk to your doctor about the benefits of taking a probiotic supplement. I highly encourage you to do that. Highly encourage that. They also, if you're at the Greenwood location, the provider there can actually write a prescription for the probiotics that they provide in the clinic. So you may want to go visit Megan and see if you're a candidate for that, because they do provide that. And I made sure as the account manager that we were on board with this. Very important. A few more benefits. It not only helps the system, helps mental and emotional balance. It can help with weight loss because bad bacteria causes inflammation, which leads to weight gain. It's also going to balance the microflora that leads to yeast infections, and not just for females, but candida is something that affects men and women, and it's not just, it's a whole body type of yeast infection, and there's all kinds of symptoms that go along with that. A lot of people may have that and not realizing it. One of the biggest side effects of that is fatigue. It also helps your skin, helps produce healthy skin. And if you're wanting to include probiotic foods in your diet, you don't necessarily have to take a probiotic, but I mean, I would encourage to talk to your doctor about that. But there are certain foods that really help with the source of probiotics, yogurt, but it's not your Dannon, it's not your mass-produced yogurt. You want to look for, handmade yogurt is what it's called. It really is the best source, but I would look for yogurt at a health food store that says it has live cultures. Pickles, believe it or not, always opt for the pickle. Sorry, my picture here seems to overlap a little bit of my wording. So, if you like pickles, go for it. Kefir or kefir milk, the mass-produced kefir milk that you can buy in the yogurt section of your average grocery store is going to be loaded with sugar, so be aware of that. You can buy it unsweetened. It's very sour, but they do sell healthier versions of kefir milk at like Whole Foods, at health food stores. But fermented dairy products are actually good for you in that sense. Sauerkraut, rich in live cultures. Tempeh is a fermented soybean product. Look for non-GMO soybean, of course. So I've never heard of it, but I put on here it's supposed to taste kind of like mushrooms. Miso, if you're going to a Japanese restaurant, had miso soup. It's really good for you. It's high in probiotics, also linked to lower risk of stroke and breast cancer. Kombucha, that's one of my favorite teas. You can buy it everywhere now. They actually bought one at a Meijer yesterday. It's a fermented black or green tea. It contains good bacteria and yeast. It's really good too. Kavita is the brand that I really like. There's several brands out there. But you can buy it. They now sell it at like your average grocery store. So check out a bottle of kombucha tea. You can buy it as like a hot tea too, like a tea bag. I have that as well. And remember, when it comes to probiotics, sugar and artificial sweeteners are going to kill the good bacteria. They're going to work against you. So watch out for that and make sure to be aware of that balance that we need. So now to end the last few minutes here, I'm going to go through just a couple of supplements that I would encourage you to consider. Again, always talk to your physician or your provider before changing or adding any supplements. But one of the most important supplements that I take regularly that I've read a lot about is something called matcha tea. It's a form of green tea that's extremely high in antioxidants. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is this little box here at the bottom of the screen. So this is what's called the ORAC rating. It's how they rate how many antioxidants are in food per serving. So take a look at matcha tea. It has 1,384 grams per unit of antioxidants compared to something like blueberries is only 93. I mean, according to research, matcha tea per gram is one of the most powerful antioxidants in nature, on top of all these other things on the screen that are beneficial. So it contains EGCG, which is widely recognized for cancer-fighting properties and fat-burning properties, actually. Contains over 100 times more ECGC than any other tea on the market. It contains L-theanine, which is an amino acid that actually increases the alpha waves in your brain, but it also contains caffeine. So you get a little bit of caffeine with L-theanine, and it gives you energy, but doesn't stimulate you like coffee would. L-theanine also helps produce more dopamine and serotonin in your body, which are the two transmitters linked to feeling good and to feeling motivated. So you can't go wrong there. So L-theanine has actually been used as a supplement, an alternative natural supplement for ADHD, attention, and it's good for you regardless. So definitely consider this. When I did the live presentation, someone asked me where you buy it. You can buy it everywhere now, but I actually buy an organic version of it, of the product on Amazon, believe it or not. They have tons of it, and you can buy organic, and it's actually a powder. You just have to stir it, add a little stevia, and there you go. The other supplement you probably have heard about is something called curcumin. This is a component that's in turmeric. So it's orange like turmeric is, but if you take a look at this picture where the arrow points down to on the right, it's a component of turmeric, but it's really the part of the turmeric that's actually good for you. So if you're going to take it, you want to take it by itself. On the chart here on the left is all the different systems of the body that curcumin benefits from. It's really known for diabetes and cancer fighting. It helps your body prevent fat deposit. So it helps you really it won't help you lose 20 pounds in a month, but it's going to help work in that direction. It's known to help with arthritis. I had a friend of mine, she's older. She couldn't cross her legs, like sit cross-legged like a lady because of arthritic pain. And a few weeks taking curcumin, she was able to sit with her legs crossed and called me. ecstatic. So that's just one example, real life example I've had with someone taking this. I don't have arthritis. I do encourage you to consider that though as an alternative. Curcumin does have a blood thinning effect, so definitely talk to your doctor, especially if you're on a blood thinner like warfarin, because there could be an interaction. So just be careful with that. But it can help with your skin. It can help with anything that leads to inflammation, which is essentially all disease, but especially Alzheimer's prevention, depression, pancreatitis, hypothyroidism, etc. So here are just a few benefits I wanted to list out. It destroys blood vessels that feed cancer tumors, reduces oxidative damage to cells and helps protect DNA, but helps your skin. It inhibits the formation of bad cholesterol. It helps your blood, prevents platelets from sticking together, which is why it has a blood thinning effect. So again, you want to make sure to talk to your doctor. Neutralizes free radicals. It actually protects your skin from UV damage, et cetera, et cetera. But what they're studying it for right now is essentially diabetes and Alzheimer's disease and chronic joint pain and inflammation, the literal inflammation that you think of when you're thinking of inflammation. And here are just a few clinical trials. It's been found as effective as pharmaceutical drugs in treating cancer of the prostate, colon, breast, liver, esophagus, and mouth. They did a study with 250 adults for prediabetes. They divided the group in half. 9 months later, the participants taking the curcumin did not have any diabetes, but 20% of the people taking placebo did develop diabetes. That's pretty crazy. It helps your heart, helps your body repair a heart after a heart attack. Again, it suppresses the fatty tissue development on the body, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're pregnant or lactating, taking a medication, talk to your physician before starting this or considering it. And please note, when you're dealing with an herbal remedy, whether it's this or anything out there, there's thousands of herbal remedies. It takes a while to work. You have to develop a therapeutic level in your body. So please just remember that. You don't have to, it's not going to work like a pharmaceutical drug that you get at the pharmacy. It's not going to be a couple days. It's probably going to be a couple, 3 weeks or so. I always got questions after talking about curcumin about what kind to take. So here's just a quick overview about what to look for. It should be standardized. What standardized means is that every pill has a certain amount. If it's not standardized, one pill could have 100 grams, the other pill could have 500 grams. No one's regulating that. So you want a standardized supplement. So standardized up to 95% curcuminoids. Preventive dose of curcumin, if you're just taking it for prevention, is typically 500 to 750 milligrams a day. For inflammation, it's usually 1 to 2 grams or 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. They found that curcumin, it's hard for your body to absorb it, so there's a specific kind of curcumin called C3 complex that's supposed to be the best, so you want to look for that. It also has been found to increase 20 times better when you take it with a small amount of black pepper extract, so it should include black pepper extract. And this is a brand that I found on Amazon that's good, that has all these qualities, and the link at the bottom of the slide will take you to that page. Excuse me. All right, so now that we've gone through all this wonderful information on health and food, if you are ready to take a dive into being healthier, here is a very good free option for you. I've done this. I've had so many patients do this. It's not a weight loss diet or anything like that. It's a challenge, it's a 30-day challenge, but most people lose a lot of weight doing it, just FYI. So this is called The Whole 30. You probably have heard of it. It's from the book It Starts With Food. Phenomenal book if you like to read. Even if you don't really like to read, it's written kind of humorously, so it's fun to read. Doesn't require you to track anything. Some people find that to be unhealthy, especially if you tried it in the past and it didn't work for you. So basically what it is, it's 3 meals a day of eating real food. Let your body have 30 days to kind of reset itself and regulate, and give yourself that time to see how you feel. It's pretty amazing. I've seen some pretty incredible stuff. And if you want some more testimonials, what I would tell you to do is go to Amazon and look at the reviews for this book. You will be blown away at some of the testimonials on there. People getting off medications. It's life-changing. So it's free. You just go to whole30.com. You can download the grocery list, the food, the instructions, everything. So go to their website, but here's basically what it is. You eat 3 meals a day. Again, your appetite works on that pendulum system. So you want to start with breakfast, it does encourage you not to snack. It encourages you to stop eating a few hours before bed. Again, you want to just give it a try. You don't have to stick to it forever. Give it a try, see how you feel. Give yourself 30 days. Heck, try it for 3 days, see how you feel. So it's pretty amazing. You can do it as a team too. I've seen people do it as a group and really have success with it. So you can support each other and help each other with recipes and such. All right. So happy Halloween again. We've gone through some really good information today. Just a quick summary, and then I'll give you the link to take your quiz. Real food comes from the earth. Easy way to remember it. And remember, it promotes immunity, treats, and prevents disease. Whereas processed food usually contains things like high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, and hundreds of other chemicals that are not only going to cause you to get sick, but are causing you to become obese. GMOs and pesticides are dangerous, so always opt for the organic option if you can. And consider a probiotic or other supplements that I suggested to help you with your immunity, your digestive health, and your overall health. But real food is the solution. If you're not feeling 100%, if you feel like your body could do more than it is, and I always say that there's always room for improvement, try to switch to a real food diet, and you'll notice improvements in your energy, mood, and medical conditions, and essentially your quality of life. All right. So one last thing to note is that you have 2 health coaches to support you here at Endress, Robin Bookwalter and Vicki King. Vicki's an RN. Robin Bookwalter is our certified holistic health coach. So their emails are here at the bottom of the screen if you'd like to set up additional coaching sessions to work one-on-one with them. They'd be happy to support you to do a Whole30 challenge. I know that. And then if you'd like to take your quiz now, feel free. You can type this in, or I'll send the link out here shortly this afternoon. It's just www.surveymonkey.com/r/Endress4. You can earn up to 1 coaching session incentive credit for completing the quiz. And then, like I said, I'll send this out in an email. If you've registered for the webinar, I have your email, so I will send that out to you. And then here are the references, some great books on nutrition. It Starts with Food is probably the one I recommend, by Dallas and Melissa Hartwig. Check out the reviews on Amazon. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. And if you have any other questions, feel free to chat with me. I'll hang out here for about 5 minutes. If not, have a great Halloween, and thanks for your time.